Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Live It Up, the show where we explore and discuss how to take your life to that next level and beyond. We cover health, wealth, relationships, and how to create a life that really feels good, because that's what we ultimately want, right? We want to feel good. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. Amy will be joining us later on the show as she educates us on today's health topic, which is psoriasis. What is it and how do you deal with it if you've got it? Remember, health is the first wealth, so stick around. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that if you have questions and that you'd like us to answer on or off the show, just email them to me and we'll take them on. You can email those to me at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. You don't need to suffer, because there are answers and solutions and ways to get unstuck and move forward powerfully. So, and with that, let's get to today's important question. And you know what? Just a heads up, this is such a great question. This is such a great concern. And so many of us deal with this on a daily basis. So I encourage you to listen up as to how this might show up in your life so you can deal with it. It says, Fletcher, I have a lot of friends and family who are full of confidence. They can easily talk to people, create new friendships, take on new experiences. I secretly envy this, but the problem is I feel so insecure. I've always had so much self-doubt and I don't know where it came from. I wish I didn't have it because it keeps me from doing what I really want to do. I feel stuck. How can I break free of this and begin living with more confidence like my friends? Signed, Watching from the Sidelines. All right. Watching from the sidelines, thanks for writing in. Thanks for sharing your concern. As we always say on this show, reaching out is a sign of strength, and that means you are strong. I love this topic so much because we all deal with this. We all deal with different levels of insecurity and self-doubt. And in your email, you asked the question, or the statement rather, I don't know where this came from. Well, I want to invite you to consider it doesn't really matter where it came from. We could spend a lot of time and money kind of going back into childhood and trying to figure out where that happened. And there might be some value in that. I'm not dismissing that. But the more important thing that you can begin working on right now is how to change that going forward. And what I want to suggest to you is, well, let me ask you a question first before I make the suggestion. And the question is this: what is self-doubt? What is insecurity? I'll ask that again. What is self-doubt? What is insecurity? What I'd like you to consider is that self-doubt and insecurity are simply a story. It's simply a story and nothing more. If you think about it, it makes sense, because where you can't point to self-doubt or insecurity, you can't cut your chest open and point to self-doubt or insecurity. It lives up here in the mind in the form of a story. And whenever we reflect on that story, it activates certain chemistry in our mind, which is an emotion. And that emotion is something that we say we feel insecure. And that emotion is so strong that it prevents us from living a big life or doing those things, like you said, that you want to do. So, and I know this is a very simplistic answer, but for the time we have, consider that the story that you have about yourself is what's actually holding you back. You may have a story that says, I'm not good enough. You might have a story that says, I'm too old. Or you may have a story that says, I'm too young, or I'm too black, or I'm too white, or I'm too gay, I'm too straight, right? Or I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough experience, or I'm overqualified, right? You may have any sort of, all sorts of stories that, when triggered, activate this sense of insecurity. And so what's there to do about this? What there is to do about it is to create a new story. But you get to create it with intention. You get to create it with as the powerful author of your life, because you really are. So how does that look? Well, it starts with baby steps. But here's, if I were you, this is what I would do. I would write down a new narrative, one that says something like this: I love that I'm feeling more and more confident every day. I love that I'm feeling more secure in myself. I love that I'm grateful for and appreciate the skill sets that I have. And then I would get present to those skill sets, right? What can you do? I love that I can run and walk, and I love that I can talk. I love that I can make change. I love that I can read. I love that I can write. And you begin to just take an inventory of your skill sets, right? Fall in love with all that's going well in your life. And you begin to just focus on that. It really is a matter of focusing on what's working well in your life, what you're already good at. And it could be anything. It could, maybe you're a good driver. You can say, I love that I'm a good driver. I'm really a good driver and it feels good. I like driving. I can drive well, or I can ride a bike well. And I know these sound like elementary examples, but this is where we start. We start with the baby steps. I love that I'm a good cook. I love that I can do laundry well. I love that I'm a good house cleaner. Whatever it is that you can do, begin to appreciate it. And as you begin to do that, your level of confidence will rise. It just has to, because that's what you're focused on. Whatever we focus on, we feel. And whatever you focus on expands. Okay. So maybe you're a good friend to somebody, and you can say, I really love that I'm a good friend to so-and-so. Or maybe you're a good parent, or maybe you're a good son or a daughter, right? Maybe you're good at what you do at work, right? Maybe you're a bookkeeper, an attorney, or maybe you're a firefighter, or maybe you're a clerk at a store and you excel there. Begin to appreciate everything that you're doing well in life, and that will naturally build your confidence until it gets higher and higher and higher. And then you're going to experience something that I call the spillover effect, where that begins to spill over into the rest of your life. And you slowly but surely become more confident in other areas of your life, because you've focused and been feeling confident in those specific areas. Now, I know this sounds like a game, and it absolutely is, but it's a game worth playing because it's a game we're playing all the time. We're just bringing massive intention now to it. So I hope that's helpful to you and everyone else listening. It's a game that I play, and there's an immense value in it. So go for it. I know you can do this, and I believe in you. Hey, we're going to be right back, and we're going to be talking with Amy, so stick around. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Live It Up. We are doing the home edition, as you can see, and we've got Amy here. Hi.
Hi.
Kind of interesting doing it all at home, huh?
I know. It's nice not to have to wear a mask with you.
Yeah. Hey, all right. So let's find out what we're talking about today.
Today, we're going to talk about psoriasis, which is something that's pretty darn common in our country.
Yeah. And I know you're like finding out about word origin. So what's the background on this word psoriasis?
Well, it's a Greek word. I can't quite tell if it's an ancient Greek word or just an actually still used Greek word, but the root is itching, basically. So anything that was an itching condition could have been called psoriasis back in a long time ago, but now it's just used for this condition.
Got it. Yeah. And so let's get to it. What is it exactly?
So psoriasis is a red, itchy, scaly, patchy skin condition. It doesn't sound very, very nice, does it? And it most commonly affects people on their elbows, their knees, their trunk, and the scalp. It's a pretty common condition affecting about 7.5 million adults in the United States. And usually once somebody is diagnosed with having psoriasis on their skin, they have it for a long time, pretty much their whole life. And it's kind of a manageable condition. And it tends to go through cycles. Some people maybe only get it in the winter, some maybe in the summer. Different things make it kind of flare and get better and get worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's pretty common. Do they know what causes it?
Not necessarily, not exactly. So no one knows the exact cause of it. But what's interesting is that, well, it seems to be a combination of things, that there's something wrong with the immune system in the skin. Not necessarily your whole body, it could be, but in the skin. And so it causes a little bit of inflammation and it causes new skin cells to grow. So really the bottom line, what's happening is normally skin cells are replaced every 10 to 30 days. So maybe split the difference and it's like, every 20 days. But with psoriasis, in that area, there's new skin cells coming up about every 3 to 4 days. And so the buildup of the skin cells in that area is what causes those plaquing and the kind of scaling that people have. So it's not exactly clear as to what the cause of the immune malfunction is. It seems to be a combination of both genetic and environmental factors. And interestingly, for me, reading about it, that in the globe, there are some areas that it's quite common, some it's not. So it's most common actually in Northern Europe, and it's least common in Eastern Asia. And the one thing that I didn't think about until I was reading for this show is that to let people know it's never contagious. So maybe some people actually think that, because it could be kind of yucky looking. And people can have it all over their forearms, but it's never contagious. You can't get it from anybody.
Yeah. So we don't have to worry. We don't have to recoil.
No. Yeah.
So what symptoms would make someone think that they have psoriasis?
So if usually, well, it's very common on the scalp. So people, the way, obviously lots of people have dandruff on their scalp, but the way it's different than dandruff is you actually get kind of like more like a scale than just flaking. It's a bit thicker than dandruff is. So that would be on the scalp. Also, people can get kind of red, scaly, kind of plaques, we call them, where they're kind of like round or irregular color or irregular shaped on the skin. But they kind of have this thick scale, different than like an eczema. And then also sometimes people can get psoriasis of their nails and they'll get a lot of pitting or ridging of their nails.
Is that on the nail or underneath the nail?
In the nail.
In the nail,
yeah. And the most common spots people have psoriasis is right this area of the elbow, the front of the knees, the top of kind of your butt area, and then the scalp are some of the most common spots. There's several different types of psoriasis actually. Plaque psoriasis, that's the one where people just get these plaques, again, these big plaques, sometimes in their elbows. Nail psoriasis, there's something else called guttate psoriasis. Guttate means kind of, I think it's actually the root word is like coin, but that's nummular. Sorry, guttate, I can't remember what that comes from. But it actually is kind of these small drop shaped lesions on the trunk and arms and legs.
Got it. Okay.
So if you had any of those, that might be, you might consider that it's psoriasis, especially if it's not going away. And it's usually itchy, but not quite as itchy as eczema. Sometimes it can be hard to know which one it is between those two.
All right. So one more question, and let's take a break.
Okay.
So years ago, I suffered from arthritis. Is it common to have arthritis along with psoriasis?
Yeah, you had arthritis that they thought was from psoriasis, just to clarify, not just regular arthritis, right?
Right.
So some people with psoriasis also have psoriatic arthritis, which is an inflammatory arthritis. And inflammatory arthritis, what we mean by that is, when someone has osteoarthritis, which is the more common kind of aging arthritis, there's not usually redness, warmth, or swelling of the joint, like kind of squishy swelling. So in our inflammatory arthritis, like in lupus, psoriasis does this too, rheumatoid, the joints are warm, red, and swollen. So anyway, people can get psoriatic arthritis, and sometimes you can actually get the inflammatory arthritis before you have the skin lesion. It can be difficult to diagnose what it is. Some people also will only have nail changes, and they'll have their arthritis. So about 20% of people with psoriasis get psoriatic arthritis.
And can that arthritis, is it just in the hands, or
it can affect any joints actually?
Okay.
Yeah, there's not necessarily one that's more common than the other for psoriatic arthritis.
Okay. Hey, let's take a quick break.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Hey everybody, welcome to Live It Up, Home Edition. We're here with Amy. We're talking about psoriasis today, which is a common affliction for a lot of people. We're talking about what causes it, what to do about it. And the next question I've got for you, Amy, is are there certain triggers that can make someone have a flare up?
Yeah, and using the word flare up, because there are a lot of people that may be free of symptoms for years, or again, they may not have any psoriasis all summer and then just get it in the winter. So common psoriasis triggers are cold, dry weather. And so again, the winter time, especially around here, people will have more flares. Stress, if you're more stressed out, you might be more prone to having flares of it. Some medications like beta blockers, lithium, anti-malarial drugs can make it happen. Infections can sometimes trigger an outbreak. Skin injuries, which I'll talk about in a minute, but even just like the tiniest little break in the skin can cause a psoriasis flare. Alcohol, especially in younger men, and heavy drinking can cause or trigger psoriasis flares. And smoking or being around secondhand smoke also increases your risk. And so those are all kind of main things that can trigger. The one thing I was going to say, just an interesting fact. So the thing, it's actually in medicine we call it the Koebner phenomenon, which is where if there's a little tiny break in the skin, people can get a psoriasis outbreak. That's why a lot of people, when they have it on their scalp, they can scratch a lot. And the more you scratch, the more psoriasis you're going to have on your scalp. So again, that's called the Koebner phenomenon. It happens to about a quarter of people that have psoriasis. So even if you had a vaccine or something, or you had a small like pinprick or something, it can happen. And it's named, just like a lot of things in medicine, this is named after a dermatologist from Germany back in the 1800s. And so it can happen, it takes about 10 days later, even 10 to 20 days later, that then you'll have a psoriasis flare in that same area that you had skin damage.
Yikes.
I know, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That's why it's important not to scratch at psoriasis.
So in addition to these triggers, is there anything else that would put a person at risk, a higher risk?
Yeah, it definitely tends to run in the family. So having a family history of it, and even so if you had one parent, obviously you'd have a higher risk. If you had two parents, even a higher risk. Stress, like we mentioned, because it does affect your immune system and your body's ability to maintain its normal functioning. Smoking, like I mentioned, also may increase your risk of getting psoriasis, but also having flares.
Okay. So how's the diagnosis made?
So the diagnosis of psoriasis is usually made just clinically by looking at somebody, seeing what the lesions on their skin look like and where they're having those lesions. So again, if someone comes in and they have these like really thick, red, irritated looking scales on their elbows here, well, it's psoriasis. You don't necessarily need a biopsy. If it's, and there's also a pretty characteristic way it looks in the scalp. But if a doctor is unsure, then we usually take a small biopsy and send it to be reviewed by pathology to confirm the diagnosis. And that's just done in the office. It's easy.
Easy schmeezy.
Quick and easy.
You mentioned that psoriasis tends to be chronic. So what types of treatments are available?
So the most common types of treatments are topical treatments, and those usually are going to be aimed at helping reduce inflammation, which will reduce the production of skin cells. There also are, there's some light therapy and some oral therapies. But mostly topical treatments are going to be topical steroids, and they're prescription strength steroids, not over-the-counter steroids. Those don't really work. And so they are available in ointments, creams, there's shampoos, there's gels, there's solutions you can put on your scalp. And they're very effective. They do need to be used. They can't just be used once or for a week and then it goes away. It's usually going to come back or may come back when you have a flare, then you have to use it again. And there are some problems with using steroids in your skin long term, especially if there are stronger steroids. So you definitely want to make sure you pay attention to the instructions. And then light therapy is also a treatment that can work. So you could ask your doctor if you'd be a candidate just to try to expose the areas yourself to sun that you have that can reduce the plaquing of your skin.
I have a question about that light
Yeah.
therapy, like just getting out in the sun, or do you have a special lamp, or what's?
Well, no, so I was gonna say just there could be regular sunlight, but otherwise, no, dermatology offices have light therapy. So it was like a tanning salon, but not really. So there's actually UVA therapy, there's UVB therapy, there's even some laser therapy. So there are a variety of different laser therapies that are done, light therapies that are done your dermatologist.
Okay.
It's not at just a regular, like your family medicine doctor doesn't have that available to them. I think you can maybe buy home lights as well, but again, I've never done that because that's just under the direction of a dermatologist. And then if people have really severe psoriasis, some people have it just all over their body. It's really, really bad and it affects their quality of life, obviously. Or if you have psoriatic arthritis, there are medications, oral medications, there's methotrexate, retinoids, cyclosporin, and then there also are injectable medications called biologics. And those are very, very effective. They all have some side effects that definitely have to be managed or be considered. But when the psoriasis is bad enough or it's causing psoriatic arthritis, then people are offered those medications.
Got it. That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of options too,
yeah.
which is really great. So here's what I'm really interested in though, because I've heard people trying different diets or different ways of eating. What's your take on that as a way of treating it?
About diet?
Yeah, like can that help? Supplements and what you're putting into your body?
Yeah, I mean, the diet question is it's kind of the jury's still out. And I think a lot of things with diet, it's really unclear. I think that if you obviously living a lifestyle that helps support a healthy immune system, which is like everything we always talk about, it's like good sleep, not smoking, not drinking to any kind of excess, if really preferably not drinking at all, low sugar. Some people could try a kind of an anti-inflammatory diet, and you can Google that and find directions on that. None of that has been definitively proven to be effective. There are some other alternative therapies like aloe extract topically. I've never had a patient do that. Don't know if that's effective. Fish oil supplements, again, I don't know, but that's what's listed. Taking baths can help in Epsom salt, and then using a really good moisturizer right after the bath. You also don't want your baths to be too hot, but if you did like either colloidal oatmeal and or Epsom salt and then did oil or lotion afterwards. Also staying specifically moisturized can help. And then small areas of sunlight. Again, I know someone who goes to Hawaii, and whenever they're in Hawaii, like they go there for a month and their skin just completely clears up.
Wow.
And so when people go to tropical areas, their skin does a lot better than around here. Avoid drinking alcohol. Also, there might be things that you just know tend to bother your psoriasis. Then don't do that. Like that's obviously a trigger for you. And then being exposed to secondhand smoke or being a smoker yourself is also going to increase the amount of psoriasis you have. So bottom line is, especially because they don't necessarily know exactly what's causing it, they also don't know exactly what to do. I know there's been people who've tried to, be gluten-free or different things to see if that would help. And I don't know that the jury's still out on that.
Okay. And one last question. I think we have a few more seconds. One last question is, what kind of success do you see with people in their treatments of it?
Well, I definitely think that, I think most people that have psoriasis they suffer with it usually forever to some extent, but I've seen it be much lessened when they stop scratching. That's a huge thing. People pick at it and then it is made so much worse. So a lot of times when people stay ahead of it with treatments and not scratching and staying hydrated with moisturizing, also using shampoos that aren't irritating to your scalp, then I've seen it really people have a reduction for sure.
Okay.
I mean, it can be really very well treated. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, hey, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for all that information.
Yeah, the casual version of home TV show. That's
right. Live it up, home edition. Hey, you know what it's time for now? It's time for you to get out there. Be a source of kindness. Be a source of contribution. You have something that this world needs, and we believe in you.